Avril Lavigne, skater boy lookalike.
Come on.
Niamh Maher.
I have to explain, I'm wearing the beanie because I was at the gym earlier.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to see my hair underneath this because obviously I didn't have time to do it. So this is due to sports.
So you were heavily sportsing, right?
I was sportsing so hard today.
Ripping some bicep curls in front of the mirror.
Play by Play on Sports Joe and Her. Brought to you by AIG, in support of 20 by 20.
It is the final episode of the season. It's going to be a pretty jam-packed one. I'm going to be joined later on by Cork camogie player Amy O'Connor. We're going to be talking about a bit of camogie. She's done pretty well at the weekend with club. I'm going to be dragging producer / pain in the ass Niamh Maher out the forefront so we can talk about how good I am and how well the season went. But first, we're going to be chatting to Sarah Colgan, co-founder and MD of Along Came a Spider and the brains behind 20 by 20 campaign. Sarah, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
So I guess we just get right into it. You mind sharing a little bit about your career and how Along Came a Spider came about?
Yeah, absolutely. So Along Came a Spider actually came about because so I beforehand had been working as a television producer for about 13 years at MTV and then the BBC in London.
Oh, so you can give me pointers on like, Jen, what you're doing is completely wrong there. That's how I would recommend you doing it, that kind of thing.
That's exactly
Great.
it. That's exactly it. I think you're doing great, by the way, Jen.
Thanks, yeah.
And while I was working at the BBC, Heather Thornton, who is my partner in crime in all senses, basically was working at Saatchi. So she was in advertising while I was in entertainment. And we came back to Dublin, and Heather's kind of brainchild. Along Came a Spider originally, and she tricked me into coming into business with her because we're best mates, and we were flatmates in London, but we never thought we'd go into business together. And I thought, okay, I'll do it for a couple of weeks and then I'll leg it. And I didn't know. And actually, it's been absolutely amazing. It's brilliant to work with your best mate. And now we're 8 people. We're like a small team of very experienced people. And all of us have come from, I think, bigger organisations. But Along Came a Spider, really, the founding principle was to use the expertise that we've all gained in our respective fields to do something to have a positive impact on society. So that's really, like for Heather and I, that's what gets us out of bed in the morning. If we're doing work that we can be proud of and that we really feel has a purpose and makes a difference. So 20 by 20 was born from that, I suppose.
That ticked all the boxes. And was there any particular reason why you pivoted towards women's sports?
So the initial conversations for 20 by 20 came up over the Christmas holidays in December 2017. And Heather and I started talking about it, and it's something we were really passionate about. We brought it into the office and we started thinking about, okay, why? And can it ever get to, be part of this, into our cultural DNA, the way men's sport is? And we'd very heated and passionate conversations about it. And we, I suppose, developed it and came up with the concept for the 20% increases in attendance at women's games and events, media coverage for women in sport, and participation at all levels. But really, what drove Heather and I at the very beginning to conceptualise it in the first place was to change our mindset around girls and women in sport. So the 20% increases are there and they're measurable, and that's really important. But really, it's to look at, can women's sport become part of who we are and what we follow as a nation?
I think, even when you're talking about it this way, it's you kind of grow up watching Gaelic football and knowing when there's a county final on, and it's like myself and Mackers and whoever is on, like it's nearly like osmosis. We learn about it and are passionate about it straight away, and that even act of having to look for the female equivalent, sometimes it does deaden, or it doesn't seem to be as much passion sometimes. Now, there is when people know about it, but even getting it out there so that people can see, and I know we've bumped into each other at women's soccer games and stuff, and it's great because even 5 years ago I was going to that games, and you'd have the really passionate supporters, and you'd have like a mix of parents of players and friends of players, and now we're getting to see more of the Irish team are playing, and this is an important game. So it's like, is it, when you're going to those games yourself, is it nice to kind of look around and be like, we might have brought more people into the stadium because of what we've done.
Yeah, that's really nice. And I think, looking even at this year, looking at, the 5 attendance records that have been broken, across rugby and across, for the Six Nations actually was start of the year, and for ladies football and for camogie, and then for that game actually against the Ukraine. That does, I think for anybody who was at them, you feel that you're part of a change, and you can feel the atmosphere starting to shift. And hopefully for hockey this weekend as well.
Yeah, that's going to be an absolute cracker. So because it's disappointing the men didn't get off to get a controversial decision right at the end. So we'll completely skip that. We won't need to talk about that anyway. And do you feel that now you spoke about? Do you feel that there is a culture shift? And where do you think that culture shift can lead to? Like I can see it now a little bit, but where do you want it to get to?
Well, I think, the culture shift is where you want, and really what you're looking for is 50-50. And, we're nowhere near that. And I know that, last week Niamh was talking about, 20% off a pretty low base is pretty little. And, we couldn't agree more. But you can't, for 20x20, it's never about ramming women's sport down people's throats. It's not about ticking boxes. In order to get something that is culturally part of, what we do as a society, and what we do as families and communities and things like that, we need to start somewhere. And for some, 20% increase is actually pretty abysmal, and for others, it's and so really looking at the whether it's media coverage or whether it's participation or the attendance, if you make it more visible, and I suppose this is the reason for the tagline, if she can't see it, she can't be it. It's not just seeing, female athletes on posters or on billboards or in the media. It's seeing the girls on your road go off to play on a Saturday morning. It's seeing your mother as a coach. It's seeing your family want to cheer around crowd around the telly and cheer at a women's competition, and seeing your neighbours want to, get into the car and the ritual of going, buying tickets to a women's game.
It's more an organic build-up rather than something that's like a force, oh, we should do this because it's a good thing.
Or because the women deserve it, or they need us to, or we should, whatever. There is, and look, you'll know this, Jenny, more than anybody else, the product is good. It's just about making the noise. And that is what 20x20 is about. It's about making it more visible by whether it's going to see it, whether it's watching, seeing more people in your class or in your team or on your street play, and seeing it in the media. And what women's sport has already, the successes and the stories and everything are there, but we just don't hear about them enough.
Yeah, well, Louise Quinn is now in a colouring book, so we're not going to hear the end of that.
Actually,
oh my gosh, it's going to be that's going to wreck my head.
That's a brilliant colouring book.
Yeah, so I already kind of know what she's going to get me for Christmas, which is great. So thank you for that. That is probably you're indirectly.
No, that's the 42 gig, and it's a brilliant idea. Really, really good one.
And it's great because even thinking about ourselves here at Maxim Media, there was a bit of self-reflection. I was talking to Niamh Maher and some of the others earlier, and they did, to be fair to them, have a kind of a look at themselves and realise okay, we should probably be doing something as well. And it's great that they've employed me, so I can't complain too much. Hopefully around for season 2. But I think that it's going great, and 20x20, it's not going to finish now the minute it hits that year. When is, because I actually, it's going right up to October, right?
So to the end of October. So it's a 2-year gig. Yeah, 24 months. And we started in October 2018. So end of October 2020 is how long we have to get to the 20% increases. But it's not like, oh yay, we're there and everything's sorted.
Full stop,
at that
job
point.
done,
Yeah,
top of the back.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it is a starting point, and I think what the most important thing about 20x20 are the people that have supported it. And it's not along came a spiders. It's 20x20 is everybody who has come, and crucially, that has been Irish sport in terms of the national governing bodies of sport, like the GAA, the LGFA, camogie, FAI, all of them. who have signed up on the local sports partnerships. And that is thanks to a brilliant partnership with the Federation of Irish Sport, which was crucial. So having the support of Irish sport and signing up to that 20x20 charter for all of those governing bodies is so important, as is the support from the media, Maximum Media included, but as well as the support from grassroots, from teachers, from clubs, from coaches, and support from the Irish public as well. So
it doesn't work if only one of those put. Yeah, it has to be, everyone needs to pull their weight in order for this thing to work and embed.
And I think this thing is something that is owned by if all of those different factions continue to support it, because there is only a certain window that we have for women's sport. We can't, and look, I know and that what's out there is brilliant, but there's plenty of people that will say it'll need to stand on its own 2 feet at some point, and this is why I think this is such a key time for women's sport, because it will get there with the support of the governing bodies, the kind of from top down, as well as from grassroots level, as well as from the media, as well as from the public, crucially, in terms of the visibility of it and in terms of kind of the optics. Men's sport for so long has been, it will have better funding and it'll have better sponsors and it'll have bigger brand names attached. And I think what's been really important in terms of 20x20 is having AIG, KPMG, Investec, Lidl and 5 global names come together for women's sport has been really, really important. And I think that shows from the brands, like 20x20 wouldn't exist without those 5 brands. They've entirely funded the whole thing. But from sport and from the media, by supporting it, you're saying that women in sport have value, and you're making it more visible.
And there's so much knock on to that. I think that, I'm thinking about it from a player's perspective. If more people are coming to the games and we're getting more media coverage, then we need to be playing better. And in order for us to play better, you need to put more into the team in terms of, full-time coaches or, extra support. And I think it puts, in a nice way, pressure to do well, because that kind of pressure, it's not just coming now from players, or it's not just coming, it's like a strong push from a lot of different angles. And you can see it now, even with women's soccer, they're, not that they weren't performing before, but all those extra people that are coming to games, I don't care, it does have an impact. It's an extra, you're feeling that bit more fatigued, or you're I have to chase back this, and you do get there that bit quicker as well. And I think a lot of the time that extra volume makes a huge difference. So the results kind of turn, and obviously it would be great to see at the end of this 20x20 campaign a qualification for a major tournament by the women's team, and also Olympic qualification for the hockey. It's coming up November as well, so get out there, get your bums on seats. Sorry, that was my push there.
I like it.
My aggressive
I like
one.
it.
And okay, so we've seen through the course of 20x20 can't see, can't be, and all these little kind of, I guess, focuses, parts. What's next in the campaign for you guys coming up? Do you have?
So it's basically it's divided, I suppose, if you look at it timing wise, into 5 different chapters or 5 different messages. So the beginning, what we wanted to do was just make people aware that it's deeply ingrained, this subliminal bias, but it does exist, and look at just our perception of women's sport. Actually, I hate the term women's sport, much prefer women in sport, but sometimes it's just necessary to explain what it is versus men's. We had the International Women's Day call to action for everybody to show your stripes and pledge one action for women and girls in sport, and that was off the charts in terms of what people did and the effect it had in different communities across different sports. And then the second chapter was looking at the importance we all hold in seeing role models and being a role model for a girl in sport. And there was the Hero Your Hero. So we're just about to launch now the 3rd chapter, which I can't say much about yet.
That's fine. Keep them interested. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
But that's happening over the next few weeks. So that will continue and into then looking at participation and then on to the future. But 20x20 is now looking at how, because we're inundated with, whether it's elite athletes, grassroots athletes, clubs, coaches, parents, fans, even the media are saying how this is brilliant and how can we join the movement and how can we support. So we're now looking at how we can structure that more to go more into grassroots, because the support from Irish sport so far has been brilliant, and with the Federation of Irish Sport having 71 sporting bodies sign up to the same charter
It's not
is
a bad day's work.
unprecedented. Yeah, it's
you
brilliant.
You can tap yourself on the back. Heather's not here. You can take all the credit.
No, I can't. Heather should be here. But basically looking now at, just in the last couple of weeks, out of 31 national universities in Ireland, 26 have now signed a 20x20 charter. So with Student Sport Ireland, that's a really big thing. So it's looking basically at how we can bring the objectives of 20x20 right across the country and more into grassroots.
So you're pretty busy then for the...
It's busy.
Yeah, it's busy, but like you seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah, it's busy. Do you know what? We're a small team, but 20x20 is what it is because of all of those different, without the support of Irish media and without the support of sport and without the support of our 5 sponsors and the public, I think everybody coming together to stand behind this, and everyone is coming from totally different parts of women in sport and has been working in it for, decades and some kind of joining new to the table. But this is a chance to really put it on the agenda if everybody moves at the same time. And that's why we think this is so exciting in terms of kind of what's happening now and taking the temperature of culture generally.
Sarah, thanks so much for coming on and chatting away and kind of sharing. And not sharing too much of what's next to come for 20x20, but like keeping it in the bag, so that we can keep in the bag. So like there'll be like you don't want to share too much either. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming up around the corner.
Nice.
Do you wanna? Is there any other message you want to get out there before we call cut and Niamh Maher makes me put on a ridiculous Halloween costume? Or
no, I want to see your costume.
Oh,
yeah, we're all
great!
good.
I can't wait for that.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Cheers. That is Sarah Colgan. All right, we're back. That was Sarah Colgan from the 20x20 campaign, the brains behind that. But joined now, we are with all-star extraordinaire Cork camogie player Amy O'Connor. Amy, that was an all right intro. I feel like that was pretty good. Yeah. Like you told me to say loads of other stuff as well, but I kind of reined it in there. I kept it kind of simplistic. Is that all right?
Thanks.
Yeah. No, how are you keeping anyway?
Good, yeah.
Got the all-star pretty recently, so you still...
Yeah, still delighted with that, thank God. It was a great night and great night back at the club afterwards with the homecoming. My whole club turned out to welcome me home, so that was a great thing to be a part of.
So are you still, like when you pop down to the shops, do you still have it on being kind of like, I'll get the milk later? Kind of like, does it get you any leeway
Definitely
locally?
brought back down to earth straight away. So.
Sound. So the ego hasn't expanded massively just yet?
I don't think so.
No.
I hope not.
I'm sure your mates will let you know if they have. How was the night itself?
Very good. It was a lovely night to spend with my family. And then after we came home on the Sunday, my club surprised me basically with a homecoming and the whole club turned up, so that was lovely. I was shocked and it was brilliant. It was a brilliant night in the club afterwards, so it was a great honour for me to bring it back to the club.
So a nice, relaxing kind of
lovely weekend.
Night. Yeah, it's nice a sherry or two. Yeah, maybe a rioch if you're feeling a bit mad, and a nice cheese board. Sounds good. Yeah. And how the season go with Cork? Like, I know obviously not getting to an All-Ireland final, but are you looking forward to building on for next year, even though it's a while away?
Yeah, I suppose at the end of the day, it was a very disappointing season for Cork, and in Cork, like not winning is not good enough, and at the end of the day, all we look at is winning an All-Ireland at the end of every year, and unfortunately, that wasn't the case this year. So it was a very disappointing year on our behalf. We won the Munster, which was great, but our goal, as I say, at the start of every year is to win an All-Ireland, and we didn't, so it was a very disappointing year in Cork. But we look forward to building on it. I think at the moment we're probably looking at a couple of years of rebuilding. We need to find some young new players. And I think it'll be a process of rebuilding for us. Mind games aside, with Galway and Kilkenny, it's always mind games with us, but I genuinely think we're going to go through maybe a rebuilding stage, and I'm not really sure how long that's going to take us. So yeah.
And is it more just, the players, more experienced players are stepping away from the game, and it's so tough to fill those kind of boots as well?
Well, I'm not even sure if there's anyone going to step away, and to be honest, I honestly don't know, but even if there was, it's not my place really to say for them if they are going to step away. But I think it's time now that we start to rebuild, we start something new. And I know we've won the last 2 All-Ireland minors, so there's players there hopefully that can potentially fill the boots, as big a boots as they are. So look, I do believe that it could be a rebuilding stage, and I'm not sure, it could be next year we could succeed with that, but it might be a few years. So hopefully it'll all go well for us.
Yeah, the whippersnappers, when they come up, sometimes they can really, in a pleasant way, surprise you and be like, oh, geez, I'm going to have to up my game as well. So that's having that drive, it can be good. They can be absolutely wreck the heads. Their taste in music is absolutely appalling.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting time for Cork camogie. We're going to have to look outside of what we have already. Obviously, that wasn't enough for this year. We got knocked out in the semi-final, albeit by 1 point. But I do think potentially there's other players in the county that we're going to have to look at, and hopefully that they'll bring us on even more.
Well, even the fact that you're kind of hitting an All-Ireland semi-final, as you were saying before, that's not good enough for Cork, and wanting to rebuild and look, even when something not necessarily isn't broken, but we want to get silverware, so you're perfectly happy. It's always tough restructuring and reframing, but looking ahead is good. But we'll go back a little bit first. So you're not just wholly a camogie player. Heard you're a decent footballer as well.
Yeah, I played soccer a good bit until I was 19, I suppose, until I started until Paddy Murray gave me a ring and asked me to come on to the senior camogie team, and then that was me done.
You're saying I played a little bit of soccer, but you were kind of in the Irish setup and there and thereabouts as well. That's not bad going.
Yeah, I took it very seriously at the time. I probably put camogie on the back burner for a few years, and I played loads of times, I suppose, with the unders. I played 15, 17, 19s, went to the European Championships semi-final with Ireland as well, so that was a good experience. But to be honest, as soon as Paddy Murray gave me the phone call, that was it. My dream had come true there and then, so that was me done with my soccer career, and it was probably the best decision I ever made.
So it sounds like it was kind of a fairly easy decision then,
at the time, looking back, I probably made a bigger deal of it than what it actually was, because at the end of the day, I always knew what I was going to do. I continued to play soccer in college because I was on a soccer scholarship. That was how I got my scholarship in the first place. So I did continue to play soccer, but as soon as I made the senior panel, that's where my focus lay, and that's what I wanted to do.
Well, it hasn't worked out too bad for you.
Yeah,
it's pretty good going.
Obviously, four All-Ireland medals later, and you'd want...
Yeah, that's definitely better than not too bad going.
yeah. And obviously I'm very, very happy with that, but I do think that the 2 All-Irelands then that we didn't win is I find them harder to take, obviously.
Yeah.
So they kind of haunt me more than the ones we've won. I suppose after the first one you just get greedy, you'll never have enough. And then I was lucky enough to be involved in such a successful team that you do get greedy, and the 4 is not enough. We want to win more, but as I say, the restructuring now that's going to take place, the rebuilding process, I suppose, we're going to have to find new players and try to catch the likes of Galway and Kilkenny who are in the final this year.
Well, even the fact that you've got teams like that setting the bar is only that's what we need to hit, and that's what we need to get by. And then as well, I know you're talking about being greedy, but there's no, if you settle, you're dead.
Yeah. In
terms of you can't ever, I don't think you can look back at games and be like, oh, that was a really good memory, but the nicest medal that you get is the next one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can understand your pain and frustration.
Yeah.
But speaking about, so we had plenty of good news this week as well. So Littlewoods have renewed their sponsorship from camogie across the board. For you having such a big name behind the sport, how good has that been just as a player to see that?
Since Littlewoods have come on board with the camogie, it's been brilliant. So as you say, Littlewoods is such a big brand. It's good for people outside of camogie even to see that they're involved with a sport like camogie, and I think they have great ideas as well. They're their meaning behind their sponsorship and the kind of campaigns they run are very good, and they're very interesting for people even outside of camogie. And I think the more they build on that, the bigger camogie will get. So it's brilliant for the sport, and I've really enjoyed being involved with Littlewoods. I've been involved with them for the last 2 or 3 years, and every year they get better and better and better, and it's improving the promotion of camogie, having such a big brand like Littlewoods Ireland involved.
So it's going to be an exciting year next year then for what's ahead.
Hopefully.
Do you have any like idea what's ahead, or they're like, no, you're the face, we can't tell you everything straight away?
No,
like,
I have no idea what's ahead, but I'm sure it'll be brilliant. Their last league campaign, the idea was, it was brilliant. It was like how women should be in the spotlight and we should know our place, that it is in the spotlight. And I thought that was a very good idea, and how they did the campaign was brilliant as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what their campaign is going to be like this year.
And like, we speak a little bit about, like last week we spoke about marketing and how, you know, a lot of the time we want to know where it goes, and because you know how impactful it can be. You'll see, like, you know, we had increased numbers going to the All-Ireland finals, but we don't want it just for the All-Ireland finals. We want it for the semis, and we want it for those big club games. What would you like to see in terms of, you know, marketing for camogie to push that even more, so that we're talking about, you know, the way people talk a lot about hurling, but how we can kind of start talking about camogie in a not like a similar way, but with that amount of passion and support behind it.
I think the likes of Littlewoods, the likes of those bigger brands getting involved can only help. Like, again, looking at other counties outside of Cork, the fact that AIG sponsor both male and female, GA, the same in Mayo, I think it's Elvery's. I think that stuff like that will kind of help the game, help promote camogie, help promote ladies football. And then in terms of attendances, I always see like, oh, the ladies football are much more, they're further ahead than the camogie, but I sometimes don't think that's fair, because having a Dublin team in an All-Ireland final in Croke Park is going to attract minimum 10,000 more people at the matches. So if you can imagine, say Dublin were in the All-Ireland camogie final this year, I can guarantee that the attendance probably would have reached maybe 35,000, 40,000. And I don't think it's fair that the camogie is constantly being compared to the football when Dublin are in it. I think it's much easier for a family from Dublin to go to the final than a family coming from Cork, say, because of the journey up, the cost, everything like that. So I do think that we kind of need to stay away with comparing ourselves to the ladies football. And in fairness to them, they are probably that bit ahead, but I still think comparing the attendances is not the way to go. So
that's your stance on it.
Yeah.
And like, if you were able to, right, if you were like able to shoot out one message to basically, not like people, the guys that like tune in and listen, majority of them are like passionate about women in sport and like whatever, but if you could whack out a message, everyone being like, this is what camogie is there anything in particular that you'd be like, this is the message that I'd like to give, so that they do rock up to a game because this is what they're going to see?
Well, in my opinion, I play camogie because I absolutely love it, and I think it's the best sport in the world that women can play. It's like the amount of skill that's involved in the game, the amount of work that goes in by the athletes, I suppose we can call ourselves now.
You can definitely call yourselves athletes.
Behind the scenes, and as I say, the amount of skill, the speed of players, the strength and conditioning has come up fierce in the last few years. And I just think if people could get out and see a camogie game, just to see the skill that's involved in it, and it is the best sport in the world a woman can play, and I have no problem saying that. And I just think that message should be loud and clear, like that it's the fastest sport a woman can play, it's the most skillful sport a woman can play. And I think that, I always say that like you'd go to a Cork senior men's game at home in Páirc Uí Rinn or Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and there'd be hundreds of little girls there with their dads and their mums and their brothers. But if their parents took them to a camogie game instead of taking them to a hurling game, first of all, they'd save themselves a fortune because camogie games are much cheaper. But it would also kind of instill in the children that going to a men's game is is the same as going to.
You're going to watch it.
You're going to watch
a
hurling game.
Yeah.
And I think like that's actually important as well. That like camogie and hurling, they're the same thing really. Obviously the rule changes and there's slightly different rules and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing. And I don't see why a woman can't be as good as a man. Obviously, there's going to be things like a woman mightn't be able to strike the ball as long as a man, but that's only kind of based on physiology and science, because men are naturally going to be stronger, more physical. But I do think that if we can get more parents bringing their little girls, especially, because it does drive me mad when I go to a game and I see little girls and I'm like, why aren't they at our games? Because like you could go to our games and there mightn't be many people at. There might be, like, not exaggerating, 100 people at the match. Like there'd be more people at a club game. So that can be frustrating. But I think if we can just get the message out there that bring your little girl to a game, it might inspire her to play.
So you have, like, with someone like Littlewoods coming in and it being more visible, because even like you're flicking through the channels and you're seeing it on TG4, and like especially when you do catch a good game, like you stick with the channel, and you're like I'm from Kildare, so it wouldn't necessarily be considered a camogie stronghold, even though, like, to be fair, the camogie, the team now, are like, they've had some really good wins, but you know, they wouldn't be talked about in the same kind of manner as the, you know, the Galways, Kilkennys, so, which is fine. We're building. We're in a building phase as well. Yeah. But having, you know, again, like you said, like that, if people do get to the games and watch, I think, and not in a patronising way, but they will be pleasantly surprised about what is on show and like what is capable on the pitch. Like we've even, like, if you go on YouTube, did my research, you know, like Amy O'Connell, and there's some absolute cracker points being served that, like, any gender would be like, I wouldn't mind scoring that in Croke Park. Like, it's not too bad. Yeah, that's my basically long spiel there going on while you're nodding your head. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. I was going to interrupt you when you're like, it's the best sport in the world, it's the best game, the women can play, and I'd be like, it's not. I'll let her off. She's a bit biased. Like, we'll agree to disagree on that, but like I can still completely see your point. Amy, thanks so much for coming on the show. Exciting things ahead with Littlewoods Ireland. Looking forward to seeing some cracking games on our screens. Don't go away. We're going to have Niamh Maher back on the show. She's going to be rocking a delightfully fashionable beanie, and we're going to be looking at the highlights from season 1. So we're back. The final section of Play-by-Play season 1. And I'm joined by Avril Lavigne, skater boy lookalike, Niamh Maher.
I have to explain, I'm wearing the beanie because I was at the gym earlier, and I don't want people to see my hair underneath this, because obviously I didn't have time to do it. So this is due to sports.
So you were heavily sportsing, right?
I was sportsing so hard today.
Ripping some bicep curls in front of the mirror.
And I'm vegan now as well, so it's even harder for me to sports.
Okay, right. If anyone doesn't follow Niamh Maher on social media, she became a vegan 18 hours ago?
No, like more like 4 or 5 hours ago.
4 or 5 hours ago, yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we talk about you, let's talk about Play-by-Play.
Let's talk about Play-by-Play.
So do you have a favourite part of the season?
This moment is ranking pretty high because I'm just loving what you're wearing. I love that.
I actually forgot for a bit that I was wearing this stupid thing. So yeah, I'm wearing it.
There's no reason for it aside from my own
power trip
enjoyment. Yeah. But it's Halloween, do you know? So
you went with the kind of grunge Justin Bieber circa 2011.
I'm just covering some frizzy hair, Jenny. If anything, you should know where I'm coming from here on this one. Okay. I'm so sorry. Let's talk about sports. I'm so sorry. P-Mount did great.
Heavily put serum in my hair today just for you.
Thank you.
So it's kind of relatively under control.
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay, we'll talk about sports now. We'll talk about sports. So P-Mount got a great win the weekend. Women's National League champions, 8-1 win. First win in 7 years that they got their mitts on a trophy, so it's not too shabby going.
That's pretty cool. We had Amber Barrett on the show this past season. She's not with them now.
She's over
in
Germany, but you still
which we broke because that's what we do on this show. Bundesliga.
Yeah, we are at the edge of. I don't know. We've got all the hot goss.
We do, yeah.
Yeah. So what is your favourite part of the season? You didn't answer it yet.
Oh, sorry. My favourite part of the season. It's really hard to kind of tell. I've really enjoyed you. I've enjoyed getting to know you a little bit more. I've enjoyed your relationship with Niamh McAvoy. That was incredible. Mackers in general. I think that she's a shining light, and I'm going to miss her so much when she goes to Australia. I'm actually really sad.
She's a good egg.
I'm really sad that she's gone, yeah. But I mean, like, oh God, off the top of my head, like the amount of people that we've had on like, I mean, everyone from Rosemary Smith, who's just an absolute legend, Amber Barrett, like I said, Louise Quinn, Jackie Hurley, Stephanie Roach, Niamh McAvoy, Aisling Maher. I'm actually Tanya Rosser. I'm actually not going to be able to say everybody, but the amount of people that we've had, Katie McCabe, like, I'm just going to keep going. But it's just...
I'm glad that you narrowed it down to one moment.
Yeah.
Great.
To be honest, I really enjoyed the live shows that we did. I really enjoyed the live shows that we did around the Women's World Cup. I thought that was absolutely amazing. And I really enjoyed the one that we did before the All-Ireland final as well. I loved having those moments because they were before really massive moments for women's sport, and I thought that it was really nice to kind of mark them. And also, I just really enjoyed the social interaction that we got off the back of this show. Do you know, like, I really enjoyed the amount of athletes that were getting in touch with me. I really enjoyed when, like, you guys were tagging me in your Leinster rugby trainings and being like, this has to go on play-by-play and stuff like that. It felt like the show was having an impact and really kind of connecting.
I'm still blown away that, I don't mean this in a bad way, that people actually listen to me talk.
Well, yeah.
Or like, but like anyone in general,
Yeah.
I'm like, I assume that the listening is like, oh, maybe my brother, if he's bored, is tuning in, and maybe some family members, and I'm sure Niamh McAvoy's boyfriend is always being told, you know, listen to that.
We didn't talk about him enough.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Niamh McAvoy's boyfriend enough on this show.
We will when she's gone in season 2.
Yeah, we will. We might even get him on.
It was actually just really nice that you were kind of like, oh, you're not doing a bad job, so keep that up.
But this is the thing, I feel like this show kind of hit into something that was missing in the industry in terms of, you know, having a sports show where there was obviously really good analysis of sport, and there was also just a bit of crack and a bit of fun and a bit of personality, and like, we haven't seen that before. I've definitely not seen that before, and like, I've followed sports for years, and I think that it was missing, and I think, you know, we've definitely accomplished that. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass, but like, a lot of that was to do with you, so that's good. Well done. You played a blinder, but
great.
No big deal.
So I was basically your favourite Stand Up moment for season 1.
That's not what I said.
That's how I'm reading it.
That's not what I said at
But
all.
we actually have a little highlight reel.
We do have a little highlight reel, of all of...
It's just me. It's just basically close-up images of me.
It's a lot of you. It's a lot of you cursing. But yeah, it's kind of a little synopsis of season 1. So sure, I'll let you intro it. You're the presenter.
Well, you've just done it. So yeah, let's have a look at that Niamh just introed there.
Smashed it.
Hey, I'm Jenny Murphy, rugby player. I'm joined by Dublin footballer Niamh McAvoy, ultimate frisbee champ, European champ Fiona Myrna. We're going to throw around this disc and see who is crap at it. Macker is going to be crap at it. That was Ruben Pinder there. You can follow him on, I was going to say Tinder, but it's actually...
But are there any attributes that the women's game have that the men's doesn't?
We don't dive about, I think, a lot of the time.
What's the most exciting thing about seeing all of these incredible women play sport?
Well, that they haven't been on the TV before, and it's going to be really exciting to have them on the TV.
They run all these campaigns all the time, how they're empowering people, how you go Serena Williams, like they jumped on the Kaepernick thing. You know, we love all this stuff, but that's so fraud if that's the case, if that's the stance they took with a woman becoming pregnant.
One of the stages was 60 hours, and that was in the Andes. But you see, if it was things like that nowadays, it would be on every paper, in every magazine.
I started with boys when I was younger, so going out and beating a boy in a race or sticking one in the back of the net, it always felt good and you always wanted more of it.
As they were going to engage, basically one of the opposition, one of the girls gave a quick peck on the cheek to their opposite prop and completely threw off the setup of the prop. So then they engaged, was completely off balance and off.
I'm really sorry, Eilish.
What did you do with it? What did you do?
That's what I did.
Saturday is back to three sessions a day, 2 runs in gym, and then a Sunday's long run day. So get up in the morning, do a long run, and then get to Mass.
Get to Mass!
So try to get it all wrapped up so we can get to Mass.
Give him a like.
Yeah, swipe what I'm saying, hearing is she was a bit less competitive, so we're giving it to her. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bullshit. This is bullshit.
Look, I think there is an onus on us to kind of show these girls that this is what the future can be like, but they need to see it, and we all need to have an impact in that. Their parents need to do it, their teachers need to do it, because they need to realise that these girls have massive opportunity to be sports people if that's what they want to be.
Right, so there you have it. There is a little highlight reel of
It was so amazing. Yeah. No, I was just saying well done.
Oh, I thought you were cutting in saying no, Jen, that's a terrible intro back into it, so just do it again. Because normally that's what you do.
That would be the norm, yeah. No, I was just...
But that was okay,
I was just applauding you. I was saying
nice.
wow, that was great.
So I don't have to restart that bit?
You don't have to restart that bit, no.
All right, well...
It's actually funny, the ultimate Frisbee thing, which we started on in that clip, that did so well on social media, and I could tell when I kind of pitched it to you and Niamh originally, you know, there was a little bit of, you guys weren't pushing back, but I could tell that you were a bit like, are we actually just going to go and play Frisbee in the courtyard? But I knew that your competitive nature was just going to go.
And no, I'm still annoyed because Mackers didn't actually win. It was a draw.
She was so fancy that day as well.
She wore, she was in a dress and she beat me. She didn't beat me, sorry, she drew. So
yeah, it's the only time she wore a dress for the entire season, and I got her to play ultimate Frisbee.
Yeah.
It's a non-contact sport though. I think you lost out on that because you were just going for the contact straight away. But that was a highlight. And then obviously like the infamous Ruben Pinder situation, which is, that's actually my favourite moment of the whole thing. Ruben Pinder works for JOE.ie and they've never met, but one of my favourite moments was when you just kept calling his last name Tinder. It was on the brain.
I hate this so much. We're not doing this in season 2. Actually, am I coming back in season 2 or what's the crack?
You're definitely going back in season 2. What a great time to talk about that. Let's talk contracts.
Yeah.
No, I think what's going to be happening for Play by Play season 2 is going to be a lot more of that, like more courtyard action, more getting you and Niamh McAvoy to be fighting against each other, although it's probably not going to be Niamh because she's going to be in Australia. But also, I really want to go in on actually going to more sporting events as well. Like I want us to kind of be there pitch side. You saw from that video, we got to go and like interview a lot of people out and about at different events, which happen all the time. And sometimes you can't get to them or sometimes everybody's busy and stuff like that. So I think we want to really cover a lot more of the actual sport. And I want to talk more about like the other elements of sport, like nutrition and the psychology behind sport. And
are you just bringing in nutrition now because you're like, oh, I've been a vegan for 18 hours, so it's something that I think we should really be talking about?
Okay, it's 8 hours. It's not 18 hours.
I was trying to make you seem
legit.
A little bit less shitty.
So basically, I watched the Game Changers documentary on Netflix, and yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm trying it out just to see how I feel in terms of energy and in terms of recovery and stuff like this. Now, I am aware that I'm gonna have to work out in order to see any of that stuff. But there's a lot of interesting science in it. Jenny Murphy, watch that. I don't work for the documentary or anything. I had a really nice vegan chili this evening and it was a delight. So we'll get into our nutrition a little bit more in season 2 as well.
Can't wait.
Yeah, let's get you on the vegan train. Well, stop it. I'll go.
Oh man, like I get slagged for my terrible, terrible jokes, but that would not make a highlight reel.
I was going to say choo choo. So what was your best moment of season 1? Who was your most surprising guest?
Oh man, that's really hard. Yeah. Like, I don't know. What I loved was the fact that I got to meet so many different athletes that I probably would never have really crossed paths with. Yeah. Like I would have known of them, but I never would have had like a conversation or found out a bit more about their sport. So that was cool. And then it was nice, like, myself and Mackers went on a J1 years ago. We didn't know each other beforehand. So it was actually really nice seeing her, once a week and grabbing a little bit of sushi afterwards if neither of us were going training. So it was kind of nice. There was some good bits.
Actually, Mackers coming in after the All Ireland final.
That was actually great.
That was a great moment, yeah.
Yeah, she was extremely hydrated.
She was full. She was full up, yeah.
Did she request chips afterwards?
She got chips afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, like as in she sat on the couch
and she didn't leave.
And asked for chips. I think she also requested dip as well.
Yeah.
But
what an All-Ireland winner wants, an All-Ireland winner gets, to be
maybe
fair.
an All-Star too. Fingers crossed. I will flip this table if she doesn't get an All-Star.
Really?
Well, it's plywood, so it should flip kind of easy.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm just saying.
I'm
not biased.
She's smashing, yeah. So, and maybe season 2, play-by-play down under, you never know.
Oh man.
Let's head to Australia.
That would be so great.
How
Who
cool would that
do
be?
we need to like kind of nudge to make this happen?
I don't know. I'll call my people in Melbourne.
Okay.
And we'll see what we can do.
Can we get anybody on social media to like maybe tweet saying, they should definitely go to Australia because sportsing and stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you go with that exact line, we can smash it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Sportsing.
succinct.
Yeah, we've got to go and get some sports.
And I can like practice my interviewing skills.
Your interviewing skills have come on in leaps and bounds. You're an absolute superstar, which I literally text you about most days out of the week.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I know it is. Superstar.
Cool.
So that's it. That's season 1. So we're wrapping up now.
So we're out until. So basically everyone's ears get a break from my nauseating voice for all of November, all of December. Are we back in January maybe?
Yeah. We'll be back after. We'll be back after Christmas. We're taking a little break. We're going to do a little revamp, and then we'll be back.
Sweet. So I basically just want to give a big shout out and say thanks. Firstly to AIG and Play-by-Play and Max Media for making this happen. Niamh, I'm going to get a bit soppy here, but thank you as well for helping me along the way. I really appreciate it. And to all the guys in the back that tweak my voice so it doesn't sound as high-pitched.
We never tweak your voice.
Yeah, I know. And then I do a lot of bloopers, so the fact that they have to say an extra hour or two, I am genuinely so sorry about that. But hopefully season 1, that will lessen somewhat.
Yeah. You've gotten so much better at it. You really have. Yeah. It is. It's good.
And then a final massive thanks to everyone that's actually tuned in and listened and said really nice things, for sticking with me through the unbearable intros that are so dire. It's become like a trademark thing.
It really is.
It's
the first thing that people say to me. Those intros though.
Yeah, like I'm probably
the cringier the better. That's what I think.
I'm deeply uncomfortable with them, and thank you everyone for firstly listening and then being like, okay, even though the first 20 seconds is horrific, I'm gonna stick it out for a bit. So thanks. And that's pretty much me. So
that's it,
yeah, guys, I'll see you in the new year.